Come back, and we are going to make attempt number, whatever number this is, and we're just going to do a quick thing. Okay, so this video is going to be called How to Study, or How to Take Notes. Taking notes is, of course, a very important aspect of mathematics, and it helps when you know what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it. So in this is called Cornell Notes. It is a method of taking notes that allows you to have a portion where you're actually seeing the work done and then an explanation about what's going on. This is especially important in mathematics, where most of the time we don't know what we're talking about until we get through our definitions, and everything's in Mathanese, so we have to be able to translate quickly. So you'll notice, of course, that I have this little wavy line on the this line on the top, and that's going to separate the difference between my topic area, which would be, in this case, how to take notes, and then the two sections where I'm working on something. So in this first one, we're going to be looking at some basic algebra. We're going to say that we have 4x plus 5 is equal to 29. And what we're going to be told to do is to solve for x. So we would see solve for x, and then we'd have 4x plus 5 is equal to 29. Now what we need to do is we need to first isolate x. And the first way we isolate x is by getting rid of the constant. So the way we get rid of the constant is we subtract 5 from both sides. So on the left-hand side where I'm doing my work, I put the minus 5 on both sides. On the right-hand side when I'm doing an explanation, I would say subtract 5 from both sides to eliminate the constant. So we'd have to know what constant means, we'd have to know what eliminate means, and of course we definitely have to know what solve means, but these are things that we would learn in class. So after we see our first move, which is to subtract 5 from both sides, we end with a result of 4x is equal to 24. Well, we want to get x by itself. To solve, you want to get x by itself. That's what solve means, is to isolate the variable. Have the x on one side, everything else on the other side. So in this case, we have to get rid of this 4. So the 4 is called the leading coefficient. So what I would do in this particular case is to multiply both sides by 1/4. Now, a lot of you are used to saying, oh, you divide by 4. Well, it's the same thing. It's just that there are some cases in mathematics where you can't actually multiply. That you don't see that until later on when you start working with matrix arithmetic. So I've gotten in the habit of just multiplying by the inverse. In other words, I flip it and then multiply. And because of the stuff that happens in matrix land. So on the right-hand side, I would say eliminate the leading coefficient by dividing by 4 on both sides. And of course, multiplication is division, and so that's not too difficult to do. All right, 1/4 times 4, they eliminate each other. 24 divided by 4 is 8, times 1 is 8, so I have an 8 on the right, and my x is on its own on the left. Since my x is completely isolated on the right-hand side, I would say solved for x, and we'd be done. So when you're taking your notes, and we're doing our explanations, the left-hand side is where all the arithmetic is going to be. This is where we're going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, etc., etc. On the right-hand side will be an explanation of what everything is. But if you notice at the start, we had a problem. Does anybody know what a constant is? Does anybody know what eliminate is? Does anybody know what solve means? We've got specific vocabulary words that we have no definitions for. Well, guess what? You can use Cornell Notes for the same thing. You'd have the word over here, and you would say solve. And solve means to isolate the variable. And of course, that's, again, Mathanese. So on the right-hand side, we would be able to put it in terms that we better understand. So we would say get x by itself and put everything else on the other side of the equal sign. On the other side of the equal sign. So to solve, isolate the variable, that's the Mathanese definition, and then the more English definition, the one we're better able to understand, or teenagese as a lot of people call it, is get x by itself and put everything else on the other side. So that is Cornell Notes in a nutshell. Not to be confused with Cornell Nuts in a note shell, because that would be kind of funny. I mean, how would you be able to make a pecan pie if all of your nuts are in a note shell? Anyway, good luck, have fun, hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you again soon.